I swear by the crystalline spires of Xylo 7, if I have to grade one more incomprehensible essay on the quantum entanglement of socioeconomic paradigms in minor asteroid colonies, I'll throw myself into the nearest black hole. Professor Zilk Magnus groaned, his tentacles sagging over the edge of his anti-gravity desk. Dr. Bloop Bleep, his colleague, rolled all 6 of her eye stalks at once. Oh, quit being dramatic, Zilk. At least your students don't accidentally summon eldritch horrors from interdimensional voids. Remember last semester's incident with the Lovecraftian poetry class? The faculty lounge of the Galactic University of Hazen, affectionately nicknamed Goo Hexy by students too lazy to pronounce its full name, was abuzz with typical end-of-term grievances. Professors from countless species lounged, floated, or oozed around, swapping tales of academic disasters. The door burst open with a loud whoosh, interrupting a particularly animated complaint about declining intergalactic educational standards. Administrator Gloop Gloop staggered in, his gelatinous form trembling with a mix of terror and urgency. "You won't believe what just happened in the quantum library," he burbled, his words quivering as much as his membrane. Zilk and Bloop exchanged weary looks. Let me guess, Zilk sighed, stirring his hyper-caffeinated neutron star extract. Azorian set fire to the ancient holo-scrolls again while using bioluminescence to read them. Or a quantum student phased into the restricted section, Bloop added, her scales shimmering a sardonic mauve. No, it's the human, Gloop exclaimed, panic rippling through his form. The room fell silent, as even the hum of the anti-gravity generators seemed to pause for dramatic effect. The human, Zilk repeated cautiously, his tentacles curling. Yes, and she's studying with a razor fang, Gloop cried. The silence grew so thick it could have split a quark. A razor fang, Bloop whispered, her hue fading to chartreuse. Those are Class N predators. How did one even get past orbital defenses? Zilk waved a dismissive tentacle, though less confidently than usual. This has to be a mistake. Humans may be reckless, but even they wouldn't. I saw it with my own sensory globules, Gloop cut in, his gelatinous form nearly splitting with anxiety. We must act before it devours half the student body. The trio bolted from the lounge, their assorted appendages propelling them down GXE's labyrinthine corridors. They passed bewildered students and faculty as alarm spread. At the library's grand, multiverse-friendly entrance, they hesitated upon hearing laughter. Peering inside, they spotted Sarah Thompson, the only human student, calmly scratching a purring razor fang as its deadly claws held down her quantum textbook. "Oh, come on," Fluffy Sarah said, debating intergalactic politics with her study partner. The professors burst in, horror etched on their faces. "Miss Thompson, what do you think you're doing with a Class N predator?" Studying, Sarah replied innocently. "Fluffy's harmless once you get to know her." "Harmless," Zilk sputtered. "It could obliterate star systems." "Sure, but she also has brilliant insights on galactic politics," Sarah countered, oblivious to the chaos swirling around her. With an exasperated groan, Zilk muttered, "Why rely on safety protocols when we can just consult galactic predators for policy advice?" Sarah shrugged, unfazed. "To be fair, sir, Fluffy's species has been around for millions of years, far longer than most of the races in the Galactic Council. That kind of longevity gives her a unique perspective on the long-term effects of short-sighted political decisions," Sarah explained. As if recognizing it was being discussed, the razor fang lifted its head, locking eyes with the educators in a gaze so penetrating it seemed to pierce the essence of their beings, or the alien equivalent for those lacking traditional souls. Several of the library's quantum equations spontaneously solved themselves out of pure intimidation. But Administrator Gloop Gloop stammered, his gelatinous form rippling so violently it seemed he might achieve nuclear fusion. "How did it even get here?" "Our security systems are supposed to block everything from subatomic particle thieves to transdimensional telemarketers." Sarah's face lit up with the excitement of a student who'd just heard exams were cancelled due to an outbreak of pan-galactic common sense. Oh, it's a funny story. I was doing a xenobiology field study on Death Trap IV, lovely planet once you get past the acid rain, carnivorous atmosphere, and laws of physics trying to kill you, and Fluffy sort of followed me home. Followed you home, Dr. Bloop Bleep repeated flatly, her antennae twitching in disbelief. A razor fang followed you, through interstellar space, past our orbital defenses, into one of the most secure academic institutions in the galaxy. Yep, Sarah beamed, her smile so radiant it triggered photosynthesis in nearby non-plant organisms. She took a liking to me after I helped her with a space tick infestation. Did you know her favorite snack is those awful cafeteria mystery meat sandwiches? Who knew? I think she followed me because she was worried about my diet. Fluffy can be such a mother hen. The three educators stood in stunned silence, their biological and artificial minds struggling to reconcile what they knew of the universe with what they were witnessing. Professor Zilk Magnus's tentacles had tied themselves into impossibly intricate knots, destined to baffle mathematicians for centuries. He was the first to speak, though his voice carried the weight of someone resigning themselves to an endless cascade of absurdity. Miss Thompson, he began, while we appreciate your enthusiasm for interspecies understanding and your apparent disregard for personal safety, we cannot allow a deadly predator to roam campus freely. Think of the insurance premiums. Sarah's face fell as swiftly as real estate values on planets slated for hyperspace bypass construction. But sir, Fluffy's been here for weeks. She's even attending classes. Didn't you notice Professor Sork's quantum entanglement lecture had perfect attendance for the first time ever? As if on cue, a group of students passed the library entrance. One, a methane-breathing gas bag from Nebula Epsilon, called out, "Hey Sarah, is Fluffy coming to study group later? We're covering the collapse of the Third Zonian Empire, and you know how she loves history." Of course, Sarah waved back with such enthusiasm that she nearly swatted a passing micro-dimensional gnat. "We're just wrapping up this politics essay. She's got incredible stories about the Zonian Emperor's last days. Did you know he kept black holes as pets? It didn't end well." The educators turned to watch the students shuffle off, then slowly swiveled back to Sarah and Fluffy, their expressions oscillating between disbelief and existential dread. "Are you telling me," Dr. Bloop Bleep said, her words slow and deliberate, as if addressing a particularly dense asteroid, "that not only has this creature been on campus for weeks, but it's been attending classes and study groups?" Sarah added helpfully. "Fluffy's great at sparking debates. Her presence really motivates everyone to reach consensus quickly. I think it's her natural charisma, or maybe the fact that she can consume solar systems. Either way, it works." Administrator Gloop Gloop, who had been unusually quiet while melting into a puddle of existential dread, suddenly rippled with realization. This explains the mysterious grade improvements across departments, and why the cafeteria finally reported a surplus of mystery meat sandwiches. Zilk's tentacles twisted further into intricate knots, but his voice broke with despair. "But the regulations, the safety protocols, the laws of nature. Next you'll tell me the void crabs in the physics department have unionized." Sarah coughed awkwardly. "Funny you should mention that." Before Zilk could fully process this new existential crisis, Bloop Bleep's fear morphed into manic scientific curiosity. "This is incredible," she exclaimed. "Do you realize what this means for interspecies relations, for understanding apex predators, for our cafeteria budget?" Gloop Gloop's gelatinous form bubbled with excitement, ideas popping like fireworks. "Imagine the enrollment boost. We can market Galactic University as the institution where even razor fangs come to learn." As the educators spiraled into a heated debate about academic papers, grants, and marketing campaigns, the scene in the library, a human and a galactic predator sharing study tips, remained the most improbable yet oddly effective alliance in the universe. Sarah turned to Fluffy with a grin so wide it could rival the Cheshire Cat's. "See," she whispered, giving the razor fang a sly wink. I told you they'd warm up to the idea, eventually. Humans aren't the only ones who can adapt, though I have to admit I didn't expect the unleash you on campus and hope for the best strategy to work this well. Fluffy responded with a deep purr that caused nearby stars to flicker, and a temporarily unstable library desk decided it had always been a cozy lounge chair. In the days that followed, Galactic University underwent a series of dramatic changes that would have left even the Temporal Adjustment Bureau raising an eyebrow or its equivalent sensory appendage. The cafeteria rolled out an apex predator meal plan, which became an instant hit with students of all species. Strangely, cases of food poisoning dropped to zero, as even the most bizarre alien dishes seemed to behave themselves in the presence of razor fang diners. The biology department expanded rapidly to accommodate both a surge in student enrollment and one notably large, toothy teaching assistant. Professor Chlorophyll Xanth found himself leading classes on advanced photosynthesis in high-stress environments for a group that included Venian acid dragons, a sentient black hole, and Fluffy, who displayed an unexpected interest in chloroplast deficiencies. The intergalactic debate team, once mediocre at best, became an unstoppable force thanks to Fluffy's uncanny talent for glaring at opposing teams until they surrendered out of existential dread. Their new motto, "Speak softly and bring a razor fang," quickly became legendary. Even the dull Galactic History department enjoyed newfound popularity, as Professor Dusty Scrolls packed lecture halls with students eager to hear Fluffy's vivid accounts of ancient civilizations. Her detailed retelling of the Zonian Empire's downfall, a mix of bureaucratic incompetence and an ironic allergy to their own atmosphere, kept audiences enthralled, regardless of whether they had faces, tentacles, or pseudopods. The theoretical physics department, unwilling to be outdone, launched experiments to determine if Fluffy's purr could serve as a renewable energy source. While early results showed promise, they were also catastrophic for the local fabric of space-time. Of course, not all changes went smoothly. Galactic Indemnity Apocalypse Prevention Limited, the university's insurer, nearly had a collective aneurysm upon learning about Fluffy. It took 3 weeks, 14 quantum lawyers, and an exhausting multi-dimensional chess match to convince them to maintain coverage provided all razor fangs wore brightly colored emotional support predator vests. Campus security tried outfitting Fluffy with a teleport-nullifying collar, only to find the collar neatly folded outside the chief's office, alongside a note in elegant script that read, "Nice try." Meanwhile, Sarah Thompson found herself at the center of a media frenzy. Intergalactic news outlets scrambled for interviews with the human who had domesticated a razor fang. She appeared on Good Morning Milky Way to discuss interspecies friendships, gave a TED Transmit Enlightenment data talk on the benefits of studying with apex predators, and secured a book deal for her memoir, Fluffy and Me: How I Befriended the Galaxy's Deadliest Predator and Lived to Tell the Tale. Not everyone embraced the changes. The squids of BA Torrentis II formally complained to the Galactic Council, claiming Fluffy's presence constituted species-based intimidation. Their case was dismissed after Fluffy herself attended the hearing, delivering an eloquent defense of interspecies cooperation that left the council both terrified and deeply impressed. Professor Zilk Magnus, initially skeptical, became one of Fluffy's strongest advocates. His research paper, The Unexpected Benefits of Apex Predator Integration in Higher Education, a case study of Galactic University, became required reading across 17 star systems. He was last seen muttering about a sabbatical to Death Trap IV for field research. Dr. Bloop Bleep, ever the scientist, began a groundbreaking study on the effects of Fluffy's purr on matter. Early findings suggested the purr could temporarily reverse entropy, sparking a frenzy in the scientific community that required her to hire psychic bouncers for lab security. Administrator Glue-Up Gloop, buoyed by the wave of positive press, launched a bold marketing campaign. Goo Hexy, where every student is a survivor, became the new tagline, accompanied by images of students peacefully coexisting with creatures that might otherwise see them as snacks. Enrollment soared, forcing admissions to employ precognitive octopoid staff to handle the flood of applications. Sarah herself graduated with highest honors. Her thesis, Perceived Threat in Intergalactic Diplomacy, a case study in human razor-fang relations, became a staple of academic syllabi across dimensions. At her graduation, Fluffy wore a custom-made cap and gown, reinforced with neutronium fibers to withstand her claws, and purred loudly enough to create minor temporal distortions during Sarah's valedictorian speech. When I arrived at GU Hexi, Sarah began, addressing the audience of dignitaries, students, and faculty. I was warned that, as a human a death worlder, I might not fit in. Instead, I found that the universe is full of wonders and terrors, but also potential friends. Fluffy taught me that wisdom can come from the most unexpected sources, and that sometimes the best way to face your fears is to scratch them behind the ears and share a sandwich. The applause shook the auditorium. Fluffy's triumphant roar accidentally resolved 3 of the galaxy's grand unified theories and disproved 2 others. As Sarah and Fluffy left the stage, the galaxy's deadliest predator by her side, she couldn't help but marvel at how far she had come from student to legend, and from fearing the unknown to befriending it. In the years that followed, their story became a galactic legend, sparking novels, papers, and even a hit sitcom. Galactic University flourished, its reputation transformed by the unlikely friendship of a human and a razor-fang, a reminder that in a vast, terrifying universe, the greatest discoveries come from seeing potential friends where others see monsters.